Hey, what's everyone? Happy Friday. Today's a very special episode. It's our 5-year anniversary. I've been doing this for 5 years, pretty much every week since last July 11. Today we have a very special guest, Steve Toth, who's one of the very first 10 who I interviewed on the SEO video show. Thank you all for supporting me this past 5 years. Let's see here. It doesn't look like... Oh, there we go. Stefan, my man, who's been here almost every week for the past 5 years. Thank you, Stefan, for your support. Latanya, happy 5 years, Dre. Thank you, Latanya. If you're just tuning in, we have a very special guest, Steve Toth, and we'll be talking about the future-proof your SEO with AI search. This is a huge topic right now. AEO, GEO, LLMO, especially in the enterprise world, I'll tell you that. Something a lot of C-levels are looking into and wanting to make sure that we are future-proofing our SEO strategies, which is what we'll talk about today. We'll go over Steve's framework. If you guys want to learn more about AEO, go to aeo.so. aeo.so. The link is in the description and in the live chat, so be sure to check that out. aeo.so. It's a interactive checklist for you to do for your websites. We also have... I'm giving away free tickets to the Local U in Nashville, Tennessee. Local U conference, the Local U workshop in Nashville, brought to you by Joy Hawkins and company. I believe, Greg Gifford will be there. Joy will be there. I'll be there. A bunch of other SEOs will be there. It'll be fun. First time I've never been to Nashville, Tennessee, so I'm looking forward to visiting the city and hanging out with y'all. Again, if you want a free ticket to the Local U Nashville conference, meetup, workshop, whatever you want to call it, I have 3 tickets valued at $300, I believe. They're $300 a piece. For those that want to email me at dre@seo.video, I'll randomly pick 3 of y'all. I will make sure that y'all will actually go, because these tickets are $300 and I want to make sure they are made well use of. We got about 6 more minutes to go. If you're just tuning in, we have Steve Toth celebrating our 5-year anniversary episode and how to future-proof SEO with AI search. Don't be shy. Let me know where y'all watching from. Ernesto, yo. What's up, Ernesto? Thank you for stopping by for our 5-year anniversary episode. Again, if you're just tuning in, we are celebrating our 5-year anniversary episode with Steve Toth, Future-Proof SEO with AI Search. A great topic. I mean, we have... If you want to learn more about AEO, SEO, AEO, GEO, LMMO... check out aeo.so. All right, I'm getting this. I want this to be a party here, so I'm putting my getting the smoke going. I got the lights going in the back. AI, congrats. Again, if you're just tuning in, we are talking about how to future-proof SEO with AI search. If you want to learn more about it, go to aeo.so. I have my interactive checklist there with some free tools. Also, if you want a free ticket to the Local U conference in Nashville, Tennessee, shoot me an email, dre@seo.video. It looks like we got Steve in the back. Steve, my man, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Doing well, man. Good to see you.
Hell yeah. Thank you for celebrating this 5-year anniversary episode with me.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
All right. If you guys are tuning in, we have Steve Toth, and we'll be talking about how to future-proof SEO with AI search. We'll be going over his framework and see what he has going on. Oh, Al. Okay, no, I'm Al. Sorry. Al, what's up, Al? I thought it said AI again. My bad. All right. Steve, did you have a chance to check out the calendar invite agenda?
Yeah, I'm good with whatever, man. I can wing it.
Love it. Love it. All right. Excited for this one. Kenneth Ellis. What's up, Kenneth? Thank you for stopping by. If you're just tuning in, we got Steve Toth, and we'll be talking about how to future-proof your SEO with AI search. Don't be shy, guys.
Congrats on 5 years, dude. It seems like just yesterday, doesn't it?
I know, right? I mean, you were within my first 10. I think you were like number 9. It was like when I first started this, and I think through my mid-year, yeah, we actually did one like maybe a couple years later, and then now we're at 5 years, and happy to have you as my 5-year special guest. I've actually modeled my SEO career off of yours, if you haven't noticed.
I did notice, man. That's amazing. I know that when you started out, you were also full-time at Workday, was it? Back then?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, well, how funny, and how much has changed in SEO since then, too, right?
Yeah. It's a trip. I mean, like even just in 5 years of how it's changed, like for me too, like even going into, even starting my own little knowledge base, like you know how I'm following your footsteps, man. All right,
got some AI notebook stuff in there.
Yep, hell yeah! I'm about to put a lot of them in there. So, hola everyone, Jeremy in San Antonio in the house. What's up, Jeremy? Thanks for coming by. I saw we have BB, the link builder. What's up? How you doing? Thanks for coming by and celebrating this 5-year anniversary episode. Very, very special episode for me. 5 years is quite a long time, especially when you do YouTube. And
how many shows?
Next week will be my 250th show. So this is 249. So 250 will be.
Wow.
Next week.
That's with pretty much almost every week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I pretty much
hope you took some Christmas off.
Yeah, I had Christmas and like New Year's off, so that's why it's not necessarily 52 weeks, but you know I got some in there.
It's excusable.
Looking into. I know a lot of SEOs out there saying is SEO or GEO is all the same as SEO, and it's not. I gotta say, like if you're talking about millions of dollars, it relates into traffic. 5% of traffic loss can relate to a lot of dollars if you're talking about big companies. All right. Let's get this started now.
Hey Dre, why do SEOs love the farmer's market? Lots of organic content.
Hey, time to get it started, no delay.
Whoops. After 5 years of having all these technical difficulties, hold on, guys. What the hell? Oh God. All right, guys. Let me redo this.
Hey, let's work. Want to see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre de Vera, steady dropping knowledge. Over 15 years in the game, so he knows all about it. Master the art of SEO, you will be amazed. Time to get your brand off page to on page. Dropping knowledge, legendary for sure. Whether you're just getting started or self-employed entrepreneur. Yeah, let's go. Subscribe to the SEO video show.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the SEO videos where SEO is alive and fun. My name is Paul Andre de Vera, aka Dre, and I curate SEO videos released in the past week into about 1-minute clips. My favorite part of the show is when I get to introduce my guest, and my guest today is the one and only Steve Toth. Before we get started, let's say what's up to everyone in chat. What do I see here? Thanks for coming out. We have BB, Carol, Kobe, Jeremy, Natalie, Al, Nesto, Latanya, Stefan. Welcome everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Now let's get on with the show.
Hey Dre, why do SEOs love the farmer's market? Lots of organic content.
Steve is a global force in AI and SEO, consulting for growth companies around the world. He's the brain behind SEO Notebook and AI Notebook, followed by over 20,000 marketers who rely on his weekly strategy drops. He took FreshBooks from 0 to #1 for 300,000 search terms, quintupling and winning Best In-House SEO Team at Canadian Search Awards. He has helped scale SaaS and e-com brands across the industry you can think of. Please welcome Steve Toth. My man, oh, where are you? Oh God! All right, guys.
Huge, Ray. Thanks for the intro, man. Appreciate it.
Love it, everyone. Let's give it a round of applause. All right, Steve. Thank you for being my very special guest today. I mean, it's been 5 years. You were one of my very first people I've interviewed on here. I believe you were number 9, and you came on like to my mid-year, and so happy to have you on. And you're like, again, I've mentioned you this before. You have been a pivotal part of my SEO career journey, and I've been following your footsteps. And thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's been inspiring to see your growth as well. I'm super excited to be here, and huge congrats on 5 years, man. That must feel great.
Love it. All right, let's go ahead and right into it. Oh God, I'm drawing blanks on my 5-year anniversary episode here. Okay, guys. All right, so let's get right into it. Let's in 1 minute or less. How does Steve get ranking on page 1 of Google?
Well, I guess if we're talking about organic traditional search, it's still a matter of being relevant, having good supporting content, strong backlinks. Having some unique value to your page that other pages don't have. If we're talking about AI search, it's a matter of knowing the query fan out themes, trying to attack the ways in which those themes are structured, according to that main keyword that people are going after, and speaking to the ICP and their unique needs. So I guess I'm answering it in 2 different ways, but we have almost 2 different methods that we have to think about now in 2025.
Love it. First knowledge bomb of today. Hold on. Let's rewind this real quick. Hold on. All right. Take us way back when it first was just SEO. When did you first get into SEO?
For me, it was 2010. I was working at a company, and I was put in charge of their blog. And I thought, you know what, if I'm going to be in charge of this blog, this web development company, then I'm going to just try to rank some stuff. So first keyword I ever ranked for was like when to redo your website. And that was, I remember outranking a page on Seth Godin's website back then. And I thought that was pretty cool. And ever since then, I got a job at an agency doing social media initially, and then quickly moved on to SEO. Mm-hmm. And it's been a love affair ever since. Started working at FreshBooks in 2018, started my own company in 2019, and been doing that as an entrepreneur since 2019.
Love that. So how'd you actually learn SEO then?
Well, I was very fortunate actually, because I had 2 amazing mentors in the beginning, people who worked at the agency with me. So there was a gentleman by the name of Chris Ward, who I basically sat beside and just interrogated every day with dozens of questions, if not hundreds over the weeks. But he was very generous with his time and his knowledge and really upskilled me. And then there was a second person named Mike Ramsey, who later became, one of my colleagues at that agency. And he was another person who taught me a ton, just answered every question that I had. And I would say by, 2 or 3 years in the game, I was pretty solid. But I would say until I got to FreshBooks is when I really took it to the next level in terms of being able to experiment with, a bigger site and more budget and stuff like that too. So the agency years were very good to me in terms of, learning. But it wasn't until I think I worked at FreshBooks that I really got to get into, I would say, the I don't want to call myself whatever elite class, but really get to meet with amazing people, work with amazing people, and really test a lot of stuff. So that was when I think I took it to the next level. But yeah, 2010 was the beginning.
Love that. Love that. Okay, so now take us through the journey of you leaving FreshBooks and starting your own thing. Because I know this is a journey, like, again, I mentioned I'm trying to follow. I followed. I was, before I said I was trying to follow. Now I have followed. So
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to have you to inspire your story to inspire others to do the same. To start their own thing.
Yeah, for sure. So, in 2018, we had pitched for an incremental budget increase and we got it. That's after I wore this shirt with gold lettering SEO with a dollar sign. I wore that in front of the executive team and we got this increased budget. And it was really because of that budget that we were able to do our invoice templates cluster and really be successful with that. So once we were really successful, we ranked number one after about 9 months of hard work for that keyword, which has 300,000 search volume, and it's a money keyword. So I think it was $10 CPC back then. I'm not sure what it is now, but we started to get confidence. And I remember just posting that, we hit our goal today. And I thanked my teammates and stuff like that. And basically got 2 leads out of that LinkedIn post and was like, wow. And then shortly after that, I just kept on posting on LinkedIn and I launched SEO Notebook and, just slowly began to get more clients that summer. And then I actually incorporated my business while still working full time for that company. And then it was, we were doing so well that, I had a lot of confidence in terms of asking FreshBooks if I could, leave and become a consultant for them, not just an employee. And I did that just before COVID. And, basically what I did it kind of like in a safe way in terms of, not having enough money in my bank account that if I fell flat on my face, I would be fine for a year. So luckily that did not happen. My first year was very good to me. I just basically kept my job until it was costing me money to stay in my job. Until I had so many clients knocking at the door that if I was to stay in my job, I'd literally have to say no to all this business. So that's the point in which I left, and obviously no regrets. Being an entrepreneur, one that's able to sustain entrepreneurship is about taking risks and calculated risks, and everybody has their different risk tolerance. But, I'd encourage you out there, if you're thinking about doing SEO for yourself, just go for it. There's really nothing stopping you. And, if you can take that risk, if you can look at your 6 to 12 month timeline and be like, you know what, I'm okay to fall flat on my face. I think it's a risk worth taking.
Love that. Love that. Okay. So it's been a while. Since you first came on here, it's about 5 years ago. I'm curious, from 5 years from now, how has your perspective on SEO changed?
Well, I think the fundamentals are still the fundamentals. I would say 80% of the things are just consistent that we do. And then we have updates to think about. Now we have, advent of branded search being a key factor in success. Google helpful content update, whatever they guys that under, but there's the 80% still holds true, and then it's just a matter of tuning your strategy to your specific business and experimenting with new tactics. But I think for a long time, back when I was working at the agencies, they call it topical authority now, but I would just say you want to comprehensively cover your topic, you want to meet your ICP at different points in the buyer journey, you want a comprehensive site that shows Google that you're an expert, and that has been true for a very long time, and I think will continue to be true. And one of the interesting questions that I'm grappling with, and I'm looking for opinions all around the industry, is if this tofu content isn't getting the traffic that it once got, is it still worth producing, right, for your topical relevance? And parts of me says that it still is, and I think we have to be measured, and also very much if we're working with clients or working at a company, we have to have the conversation that the expectation is not a giant up and to the right graph, but the expectation is that we're first of all assessing the viability of our bottom funnel keywords, and then building a content strategy around that if we determine that those are viable.
Love that. Love that. Okay, so I want to go, before we get into our topic of today, I want to kind of bring up the topic of, AI search, right? Or whether it's AEO, GEO. What is your take on it? Because I know like there's a lot of SEOs out there saying it's the same thing. It's like you just do SEO and it's, doesn't just, you don't have to change your strategy. What would you say to them? And like, what's your take on this?
Well, first of all, I do think that they're very different, but I will also say that you can't be an AI search expert without having amazing SEO knowledge.
Yep.
So it's the
Yep.
bedrock of everything. But the way that I look at it is like, even it's multiple ways, but I'll articulate a couple of them. Even if the activities are basically SEO activities, if you're optimizing for AI search, you may have to change the order of those activities. You may have to change the priority of things that you focus on. And, even if they're the same thing, you're literally doing different things to get into the search, to get into the AI search results. So you're changing the order, you're changing the priority. So yeah, maybe it's SEO, in the end, it's all music, but it's classical music versus pop music, right? Like it's a different instrument. And the other thing is, in the work that we're doing for our clients with respect to GEO or AEO, whatever, let's just call it GEO for this episode, because that seems like what the enterprise is using. But, if I'm optimizing for GEO, I'm literally doing different things than I was doing. I'm shipping different types of pages. I'm focusing on different things than I was, a couple of years ago when it was just about traditional organic search. So to me, I mean, like, there's a big difference there. And understanding how to meet these answer engines at critical points in the buyer journey does require a different playbook. And, we've developed a framework at Notebook Agency that I'd love to chat about later. But I mean, this is just something that didn't exist. And to me, to say that it's just SEO at the end of the day, I think it's really doing it a disservice. And quite frankly, that's not what your clients want to hear. Your clients are like, how do I get into AI chat? So you might as well just say, I'm doing it.
Yep, love that, love that. And let's get right into it. So I want to say, you said that being mentioned in ChatGPT or Gemini is like table stakes. Can you expand on why this is no longer enough?
Well, I mean, for certainly for some websites, that is the goal. If you're an underdog and you're not being mentioned for your main, niche keyword or whatever, then certainly like getting mentioned is very, very important. And that should be your first step. But for the brands that we work with, typically funded SaaS, B2B SaaS brands is our niche pretty much. We already see a lot of ubiquity there in their online presence. They literally have, millions of links and mentions across the web. And whenever you ask ChatGPT or Gemini or AI overviews, like, who's the top player, like they're there, right?
Yep.
So the question at that point becomes for those brands is like, what's next after that, right? Are mentions the end game? And that's, kind of like job well done, pat yourself on the back and call it a day. At Notebook Agency, that's absolutely not the case. And what the case is really is something we call the truth alignment framework. And I don't want this to be like, too salesy, but like I strongly believe that this is a direction that pretty much every established company has to start thinking about is, well, how truthfully do the LLMs represent my brand, right? If I ask my salesperson, like, what integrations do you have, or are you GDPR SOC 2 type compliant? What are the sales answers? And if you ask those same types of questions to ChatGPT, are they consistent with the answers that you want out there? Let's say, for example, your SaaS product shipped a new feature to finally achieve parity with its biggest competitor, and the LLM doesn't know about that. You can join the cult, BB. You're welcome to. I just see BB's thing.
Oh yeah.
We just call it TAF. But if, let's say, for example, you shipped a new feature and you want to tell the world about it, and then you ask ChatGPT, like, does FreshBooks have double entry accounting? And ChatGPT doesn't think so, but you finally shipped that feature. Well, this is something that you have to get straight with the LLMs in terms of letting them know your capabilities, so that when, after you're mentioned and that user is defining the criteria, the deal breakers that are important to them, that the LLM understands and properly represents you. So it's kind of like, PR in a way, getting that message out there, and making sure that the LLMs, understand your full capabilities, so that when users, leverage the strength of an LLM, which is like, getting to the point, getting to the heart of what they want. They want a specific integration. They need it to be GDPR compliant. They need support hours in Australia, whatever it may be. They need it localized in German, that the LLM understands that you do offer those capabilities and is not going to, sell you short on something that you may have, but it doesn't know about. So the truth alignment framework is really around like interrogating the LLM to see how well it knows you, and measuring its response over time with multiple prompts, and then actually taking inventory of the sources online that influence its perception of you, and then working to change and improve that score over time. So that's it in a nutshell. You can kind of do this on your own. I'm releasing a lot of stuff on AI Notebook to aid people in measuring this. But when it comes to like the enterprise level, we're working with clients directly on, measuring their truth score and all that kind of stuff. So this is, the exciting new direction that we're taking with GEO. And, I believe we're really like on the forefront of this. So I can't wait to, have it be more mainstream.
Excellent.
Yes, and I do have a lot of questions coming on your frameworks later on in the episode, but I want to go, so right now, like, what do you think most brands are actually getting wrong about their presence in AI search or answer engines?
Well, it's not influenceable. A lot of people, feel like there's, well, first of all, just to set the record straight, like if the corpus is the corpus and it's not accessing the web, then it's not influenceable, right? Until there's an update in the training data, right? Mm-hmm. So until they train a new model, like, the results are generally going to be, the same type of token predictions. But when it does a tool call and accesses the web, that's where there's a convergence of SEO and corroborating, the direction that the LLM wants to take that answer. And, depending on what information is out there, and understanding the themes of those fan out queries that it's using to compile that answer. And, perhaps we can explain that in a minute as well. There is an opportunity to influence what an LLM, how it represents you and the answer that it gives. So just for anybody who doesn't know about like fan out queries yet, I think it's becoming mainstream, but it's maybe worth just touching on in case some folks in the audience here don't understand it. It's essentially like one query becomes many queries. And that's in order for the AI to assemble a quality answer with diverse information, right? So if the SERP looks the same and it's just Googling the one keyword and then it's looking at page one, or, Google's own index of this is looking at the page one results, like it doesn't have that diversity of information to compile a really comprehensive AI answer. So what it's doing is it's taking like your personalization and a bunch of other ways that it kind of splits that query into multiple related queries. And then on a passage level, it's looking at that corpus of data, extracting information and passages that support its reasoning chain. And then that is what makes up the AI answer, right? So there is an opportunity for you to understand the themes of how those fan out queries are constructed and tailor your content in a way that you can get visibility into an AI overview now.
Love that. Okay, so there's something that you actually mentioned, like passive visibility, right? So can you explain what the concept of passive visibility is and how it's holding back brands in AI search environments?
Yeah, I mean, like passive visibility is just like considering, hey, like I Googled my main keyword. In the past, it's like, hey, I Googled my main keyword. I'm on page one, or I'm top 3, and like the money's rolling in, and it's just all about maintaining that, and doing whatever you can, like focus all your energy. And I was right there, like with Invoice Template and FreshBooks, other sites like Signaturely and Online Signature, like we were right there. Like, those were important keywords to rank for, and it was worth focusing all of your effort there. But I mean, with LLMs, like, your buyer journey is so much more complex than it was, and so much more efficient for your ICP than it was in the past. And, just passively being mentioned is really not enough. Like, you have to make sure that the AI, ends up recommending you and ends up understanding that you are a great fit for what that user is sort of narrowing down in terms of their search, right? Mm-hmm. So I call them deal breakers, and I'm certainly not the first person to call them deal breakers. But a big strength of LLMs is you being able to tell it, and if you use ChatGPT Deep Research, it straight up asks you for like what your deal breakers are. And I say, like, if I'm searching for a project management company, maybe I'm like, well, I'm an SEO agency. I need this to work with a team of 40 people. I really want a Slack integration. Time tracking is super important to me. I want it to have Gantt charts. And, I'm narrowing down kind of like the project management system that, I'm searching for. And then it's the AI saying, okay, well, all of these, different aspects, these are the companies that meet your needs, right? Mm-hmm. So understanding like what potential deal breakers your ICP has, and understanding if the LLM thinks that you meet those deal breakers is super important. And that's going beyond passive visibility for me.
Ooh, man, love that. And so, okay, so how can we solve this? I mean, is this part of the truth alignment framework they have going on? Is this like what?
Pretty much, yeah. So this is like, just understanding like how well the LLM is representing your brand. And our framework is effectively measuring this for companies and giving like an objective score on how well we're understood, right? But I mean, you don't have to be a truth alignment framework client to like, understand that this is important and implement things, for to influence the fact that, we've shipped a new feature and the LLM doesn't understand it. Just for our clients, we have, the network to change that information on and off page. We have the ability to deploy content that speaks to, those deal breakers and stuff. And comparison pages are also a big part of our strategy at Notebook, in terms of understanding like, how to go deep on comparison pages. So not just like, ClickUp versus Asana, but ClickUp versus Asana for time tracking for SEO agencies, right? So getting super specific with the way that you compare things, so that when your ICP, tells me I'm an SEO agency and I'm interested in a time tracking feature, that your comparison page comes up.
Love that. Okay, so let's get a little bit more deeper into your framework here. I'm curious, like how did it come to be? Like, have you been testing things with clients, or even on your own, and it just started working, and it just became like your something that you just kept on using? And I'm curious, like, what other things have you been that you can share that have been aligning this your truth alignment?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, like, we work with B2B SaaS clients, right? So we're pretty keenly aware of like what each client's strengths and weaknesses are, what things we can and can't say in terms of like, how they fare against competitors. Sometimes competitors are, straight up more robust than your client. And sometimes, your client is playing catch up, right? So we realize very keenly that this is an issue. And that, we need to work towards it. But we were kind of just like, just not really having a strict definition of like, this is the thing that we have to go after. But I just got through teaching a course on AEO for CXL, and the lead up to like actually creating the 3 hours of material that I presented for this course, really solidified a lot of things for me and refined the TAF framework for us, and also led to some changes in the development cycle for it, and new ideas. So this exercise of really consolidating the information that I had to present for 3 hours in front of an audience of about 100 people in this course, this live course, which is going to happen again likely in the fall.
Oh, nice.
That this was an exercise that really led to a lot of great things for us. And, just getting everything down into slides and, in one place really does force your mind to kind of connect the dots a little bit better. And it was very fruitful in terms of doing that.
Love that. Okay, so the framework consists of what? A content strategy, technical tactics. I mean, like, yeah. What are people doing here? Yeah.
Yeah, the one of the core idea is that we want to map like an ontology, a taxonomy of your company's capabilities, right? So what do you actually do, right? Do you have customer support available in Australia? What kind of compliance measures does your SaaS have? What is the full list of integrations? And then for what countries do you have your product localized into? Who are you targeting? Companies of 50 people, 500 people, basically, like, we want to map out everything that a company offers. Okay. So we call it the truth notebook.
Okay.
So once you have this truth notebook and you have all capabilities documented, we then can create prompts to interrogate the LLMs to see how well it knows each of these facets. So essentially your company's truths are at the center of this. And that is why this is not just a software that you sign up for. It's very much like we work with you to create this document. And then we interrogate the LLMs to see how well it reflects what these truths are about your company. And then our content strategy is also rooted in this same document. And we deploy content based on a RAG brain that understands all the nuances of your business. And if something changes in your business, like you ship a new feature that you didn't have, we can dynamically update that content because it is AI created via this RAG. So it's like an ongoing kind of living, breathing content strategy that is, fueled by this truth notebook. And then this truth notebook, we're essentially interrogating the LLM against it to see how consistent its answers are with what you would like said. And then that's netted out into a score to say, like, how truthful and how reflective is the LLM's answer based on, what would your top salesperson say on a demo call, right? So it's basically like working towards improving this truth score. But it all hinges on how accurate and comprehensive this truth notebook ontology of your company's capabilities is.
Man, so I didn't realize. So this is kind of like you're building actually a system, or like a live system or SaaS product that's all baked in together, right? I thought it was more of like a course,
but
or
it's
something. Yeah, okay.
But no, it's bespoke. So it's like it's not for everybody, and it's really for the enterprise audience that is already established with dimensions and all that kind of stuff. So and basically it's that's the ICP that we target. But that doesn't have to necessarily, could be like a really successful personal injury law firm or, really successful B2B service provider. It doesn't necessarily have to be SaaS, but it has to be a company that has, multiple deal breakers that, people evaluate their product or service against, and where we notice that there's, room to improve the LLM's understanding. And especially for a company that is like shipping a lot of new features and, has a big product team, that's where the fit really, is great, because that work that they do on the product side is ever evolving and needs to be constantly updated and reflected in their content strategy and thus in the LLMs.
Love that. Okay, let's talk a bit more about the truth notebook. I mean, I love the idea of like having this truth notebook, like and like how does it help LLMs sell like your clients' products? Like
so the truth notebook is not like directly read by the LLM, but the content in it is reflected in the content that we create. So it's used to fuel the content that we create. So for example, comparison pages would say like, us versus competitor B, we offer SOC 2 type 1 compliance. These are our support hours. Again, we're localized in this language. We have features A, B, and C. So it knows about all those things with respect to the company. And then in the content that we produce, we talk about those things so that they get retrieved. We also use that to fuel an off-page strategy. We understand the landscape of what's influencing a company's perception. Like if at one time, let's say, FreshBooks didn't have double entry accounting, and now it does. Well, there's probably some blogs out there saying that it didn't, and it's up to us to like make those corrections, right? And say that, in fact, in 2025, or this was a while ago that FreshBooks had double entry accounting, but this was like 5-6 years ago, but I'm just using as an example, that indeed now we do have that feature, and that we actually want to reach out to those sites, and not even doesn't have to be on behalf of the company. You can just say like, hey, you've got some incorrect information on your website. You should really correct this. And most of the times webmasters like care about the integrity of their content and will change that, right? So Truth Notebook fuels the content strategy, but it's also the basis for the interrogation prompts to say like, okay, well, if this is a fact about, the feature and what goes into it, and, it might be like all the details about Asana's time tracking aspect of their product. How does the LLM know about the specific, features and details about time tracking? The Truth Notebook is the fuel for the prompts that try to elicit those answers, right? So it's at the center of it, and it's not something that's trivial to create. Like literally working with like taxonomists on documenting all these things, and basically ingesting a lot of the company information from product, from sales, from all different facets of our clients. But once you have that kind of information mapped out, and it's very powerful in terms of what you can do with it, because it becomes a source of truth that you basically want propagated across the web, and then obviously reflected in LLMs.
Love that. And so how are you validating the truths, like when in the notebook, like with each client? Is it something you're looking at every time?
So the client, well, we align on what goes in there, right? Okay. With respect to like, what's documented on their help section, what is their current roadmap. We also know like how that source of truth can change over time, and are ready to reflect that information inside this document. But really by validating, beyond client validation, we want to validate and compare using AI to say like, here's our ideal answer to this question. Here's the LLM's answer to this question. Is this, totally aligned, partially aligned, completely misaligned, maybe hallucinating because it doesn't have enough information? And then that nets out into a score, which we can understand, for different facets of this, Truth Notebook, and like different facets of your company. Essentially, how well does the LLM understand your current capabilities?
Got it. So what part how does a schema or structured data play a part in the framework? Is it?
So I think like structured data is also very important for brands that are maybe a little bit less established and have to get into the right lane, into the right column, so to speak. So we do schema for certain types of clients. For other clients that are already very ubiquitous and have tons of off-page corroboration, essentially that you're a leading HR payroll software company, like you don't need like to drill it home that much with schema. But if you're an up and comer, I think getting yourself into the right category, schema can certainly be beneficial.
Love that. Okay, so when it comes to SEO, we have keyword gaps, content gaps, and then in this case, like we're having truth gaps, right? So I'm curious, like how are you identifying these truth gaps across the web, for clients?
Yeah. So, I mean, by doing these interrogation prompts, we're doing it not via the API, but actually doing it through real searches on ChatGPT, like obviously automated, but we are able to see what content is, essentially corroborating or influencing the LLM's answer, and then basically map out, a bunch of URLs that are now, become mission critical to align with the truth, or, supplement those so that we have more content, saying the accurate information than we do saying misinformation. Or like, let's say it's a Reddit thread that's, influencing something that is not true about your business, identifying that and then going on that thread and correcting it, right? So this becomes, it's almost like a reputation management in a way. But it's like reputation management for not because you committed a crime and you want to push that down off page one, but just because there's inaccurate information about you.
Exactly. Love that. So I love the reference to reputation management, because you have to really correct everything with all these other third parties sites. We do have a few questions that are coming in. Let me go ahead and ask a few of them here, like that just came in. So Alexandra asked, do you do Wikidata?
Yes, we do.
Wikidata. So how are you using Wikidata? I'm curious about that.
Well, there's folks at my company who are much more expert on that than me, but I do know that we have used it definitely to establish, I think, like the knowledge panel for a certain client. So we work with a plastic surgeon, and we put a bunch of stuff about him in there, and then now when you Google his name, he's got a knowledge panel and stuff like that. So I'm not like doing that work at my agency, so I can't speak to like the fine details, but I do know that it's part of our strategy.
Love that. Another question is about schema. Is it crucial to update same as subject of frequently and subject same as schema and subject of frequency?
I don't know. Like, same as, from my understanding, is like, this is my YouTube profile. This is my X profile. This is my LinkedIn profile. I think that stuff pretty much stays pretty standard. So I'm not sure why you would necessarily want to update that frequently. Maybe if you're on new social platforms, you would, if I'm understanding that question correctly. But to me, it would, for most cases, it would probably be one and done.
Got it. Love that. So let's go more into some operationalizing a lot of some of this. Like, are there specific tactics for influencing AI generated responses in ChatGPT versus AI overviews versus Perplexity? Like, what are you kind of seeing in your tests?
Yeah, so Perplexity is an interesting one. Understanding the fan out queries is kind of the key to getting into the results, because there's, it's basically like querying multiple keywords to assemble relevant information to answer a question. So if you're using Perplexity, there's a thing that it breaks out called steps, because where it shows you the actual steps that it went through to compile that answer. And in that steps tab on Perplexity, it does actually say, here's what I'm searching for to answer this. So understanding that you have content to target across those literal terms it's telling you that it's searching to compile that answer is very critical. But you might also be tempted to say like, okay, well, I've just got to optimize for all these things, and that may get pretty unmanageable, especially if you have a lot of different queries that you want to optimize for. So what I kind of taught in the CXL course was around like really just understanding the themes that you need to touch on. So like, for example, in B2B SaaS, comparisons are super important. Reviews are super important. Pricing information is very important. Understanding like who the product is for, and actually like calling out that this is for X, Y, and Z ICP. There are a lot of acronyms here, but that the product is for a specific ICP. If you can speak to those types of themes in your content, especially if you're like in the B2B SaaS niche, then that's a very good way to take a step back from just saying, I have to optimize for all these fan out queries, but like, do I have content that adequately compares me to my competitors? How do LLMs, what are they pulling in terms of the pricing, right? Because B2B software is also like highly tailored pricing. Usually you have to book a demo, get a quote, and all those different things. And the pricing information can be, it's pulling whatever information is out there, right? So if there's somebody on Reddit saying, I bought this warehouse management software, and it's, they quoted me $6,500 a month, and literally like on the client's website, they don't talk about pricing. Well, guess what? LLM thinks it's $6,500 a month, and whether it is or it isn't, that's the information that it's pulling. So, understanding what out there is reflecting like what LLMs understand about the price of your solution is pretty critical as well. And when it comes to comparison, just a couple of nuggets what I mentioned earlier was like understanding like the feature, comparing the specific feature. So ClickUp versus Asana time tracking for SEO agencies is super important. And then also in a lot of the system prompts, if you Google leaked AI system prompts, you can get some of these system prompts for like Perplexity and others. And in those system prompts, they talk about recent information being preferred. And so in your comparison page, when you have like ClickUp versus Asana time tracking for SEO agencies, put July 2025 in your title tag in your H1, and you're going to get pulled more often because of its recency bias.
Love that. Alexandra's asking, are there any good tools to track LLM visibility?
I mean, they're just proliferating at a lightning pace right now. And for us, there's actually a website called aeotools.space that former SEO IRL, which is my event happening in October, speaker put together, Mahir Naik, with a bunch of AEO tools. So aeotools.space. I'd go there. We've used Profound. We've used, depending on what the client's preference is, we've used keyword.com. But really it's like for us, it's less about tracking mentions and more about tracking those truths. So we're using our own internal systems for that.
Love that. And self-plug, if you're looking just into AIO, I do have an AIO scraper where you can just check a bunch of tags called AEO.so. But yeah, there's also, I heard of Profound, and then also Demand Sphere is another one I've seen out there that people are using. So go check that out. I wanted to go more into the strategic impact for brands, right? I want to recently I've been hired to drive organic traffic for a client, but then with the current state of people losing companies losing traffic to AI, I'm curious for those that are objected to it, what is your how do you explain the business value of investing into AI, an AI SEO strategy or AI AEO strategy?
So yeah, we're Kevin Indig, who's colleague of mine, also speaking at the conference, SEOIRL.com, be there. He's has his prediction of when AI search and Google search will converge, right? This is in terms of traffic numbers, right? We're still very much where AI traffic is just a very small fraction. Ahrefs published a blog last month that talked about how AI search is accounting for 12% of its signups, but it's only coming from 0.5% of its overall traffic, right? So but basically it's converting disproportionately higher, like 24x higher. I can't remember exactly what it was. But imagine when that traffic is 2%, 5%, 10%, 20%, 50%, then that's where the reason why it converts so well is because users say this is the software I want, these are my deal breakers. When I finally end up on that website, I know that this is for me, right? So they're signing up with less hesitation. They don't need to book as many demos to figure out whether or not what tool they want to evaluate. The LLM is helping them hopefully accurately qualify the solution that they end up on, right? So they're converting at a much higher rate. So, if you're asking the client, should you invest in AEO right now? It's kind of well, how are your conversions looking? What is your conversion rate coming from LLMs? And we've offered some really cool dashboards on AInotebook.com for that. And also I think one of the big things is when talking to your clients about this is understanding how savvy their ICP is, right? Okay. So if your ICP are data scientists and you've got a BI tool that you're selling, then that data scientist is literally using ChatGPT every day, or whatever LLM of their choice. They're using it every day to solve their problems, right? So they're damn right they're going to be using it to find solutions that can help them do their job more efficiently. So if your ICP is super tech savvy, I think the case is now that you have to start focusing on that. But if you're a home renovations company or a plumber, the average person is not going to be going to LLMs as readily as a data scientist would be to look for a solution to their problems, right? So I think that conversation, has to happen between you and your client. And if your ICP is somebody who's super savvy and likely has their own ChatGPT subscription and all the rest of it, then I think, there's a strong case to start focusing on it now. But, we are very much in this kind of limbo period where it's not, Google traffic is still the majority of conversions, albeit converting at a much lower rate. But who knows what the future holds? Like ChatGPT supposedly like launching a browser soon. Perplexity just announced their new browser. Like there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of change happening. So it's going to happen for some faster than others.
Love that, guys. And I'm coming close to the end of the episode here, and I have a couple more questions. So if you have any questions, ask them in live chat right now, and I'll address them in the order that they are received. So I'm curious, like if someone was going to take away like from your framework, what would probably the three things from your framework that someone should do right now to at least get their feet wet within AEO?
Understand how, for those key questions that are make or break things that you talk to your customers about, like, do you offer X or do you do Y? Like understanding how the LLMs reflect your capabilities in that area, right? Okay. If there is a gap there, identify the sources of information that may be influencing incorrect information or incomplete information. Reach out to those sites to correct that information. Again, you can just reach out as not even your company, just an average user saying, you know what, this is actually not true about this. Here's the help documentation that actually proves that the company does this. You should, get right with your site because I don't trust you due to this misinformation, and then watch the webmaster change that. You also want to make sure the first party content you have adequately backs up, these truths as well. And focus on information retrieval, right? So information retrieval is basically, how easy do you make it for LLMs to understand and retrieve your content? And if you sort of become versed in that, then that the content work that you do has to have those like 100 to 300 token chunks, one idea per paragraph, supporting content, citations, basically make your content easily digestible for the LLMs. So starting with like how accurately are you once you're mentioned, how accurately are you represented? What sources online are shaping the narrative of your brand? And then actively shaping the right narrative by creating the right content that's going to be retrieved, over something that is harder to retrieve.
Love that. Okay, for this episode to feel well, let me ask this last question. I ask all my SEO professionals that come on here is if someone wants to get into the SEO space, become an SEO professional right now, what would your advice be to them?
Just do it. Learn. You can't stop learning in this industry. You have to be committed. You have to be able to learn on your own time, right? Like that's kind of the key is like, when I worked at FreshBooks, I remember the CEO of FreshBooks saying like, I can't force an employee to learn on their own time. And when I do find those types of employees that are willing to do that, that's when you have a good one. And obviously like they have to follow through and do their work too. But that's a big difference in terms of what makes a successful SEO person. It's not just a 9-to-5 job where you clock out and you stop learning. You're literally like you're chilling on your phone on your couch at 9:30 at night, scrolling through LinkedIn or scrolling through Twitter. And you're reading, right? You're reading, you're watching videos, you're literally people tuning in on a Friday night, in BB's case, in Amsterdam, like, watching this video, right? So trying to learn all the time, like this is what separates the winners and the losers. And I think, if I take it one more step beyond that, taking risks and not being afraid of what Google says is another way to, get the results, because essentially you have to be able to take calculated risks. So don't stop learning, take calculated risks, and I feel you'll be successful.
Love that. And for this episode to feel complete for you, Steve, Any last comments? Last words for the audience out there?
No, I want to congratulate you on your consistency, man. That's something that people always talk about with SEO Notebook, is how I've been consistent for 6 years doing this. And, I'm sure that you would say that there's, that it's been 100% worth it. So if you're thinking about getting into the space and, sharing your content, like find your medium. For me, it was email and LinkedIn. For others, it might be YouTube. It might be a blog. It might be just social media. It might be shorts. Who knows? Like, whatever works best for you, and be consistent and just don't hold back. Just give your information away. Like if I'm talking about this stuff and I'm teaching somebody, how to do the truth alignment framework for themselves, like I really don't care. Like I just want, people to understand where my passion lies. And if somebody wants to work with me, then great, they can work with me. But that's not, I don't share with that expectation. I just share with, like, I want to tell the world about, what I'm excited about. So if you want to go the route of like, trying to share content to get leads, because, most of us SEOs are introverts, it really does work. You have to be consistent, and you have to have an abundance mindset over a closed scarcity mindset.
Love that. And they can find you on SEOnotebook.com, AInotebook.com. Is that correct? Both of those places you can sign up?
SEO IRL is also happening this year in Toronto on October 16th and 17th. We've got Eliada Solis, Kevin Indig, Ross Simmons, Murray Haynes, myself, and a bunch of other amazing speakers. Just a killer lineup this year. It'll be a 2-day event happening in Toronto this October. So it's SEOIRL.com. You can get on the email list, and we'll be announcing tickets real soon.
Love that. And Steve, you've done it for the past 2 times. Can we get a third time performance here?
Yeah, you can. You know what? I've been playing a lot of guitar lately, and actually wrote a song. Like, I won't say I wrote it specifically for this episode, but it's an instrumental, and it's actually kind of a difficult one. So I'm a little nervous to try to play it live, but I can give it my best shot.
Oh yeah.
So just give me 1 second. I'll get it queued up. I have to bring down my camera so that you can actually see my guitar.
All right, guys. We got a live performance from Steve. If you haven't noticed, if you haven't checked out, Steve has performed live twice already on the show. So I want to make sure that we get him to perform a special song for this 5-year anniversary episode. So I'm going to bring it right to you.
All right. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yep.
But just make sure I'm tuned up. All right. So, this is just a piece that I wrote, sort of almost like a little bit of a classical piece. It's just something that I've been working on myself, and, hopefully it sounds okay. But it is kind of a difficult one. So if I stumble, I'll just try to keep going. All right, let's do it.
Oh yeah, my man Steve. Thank you so much. The crowd loved it. Can you hold on for one quick second while I sign off here? Hold on for one quick second.
Sure.
All right. All right, guys, that concludes another episode of the SEO Video Show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And thank you so much for tuning in for the past 5 years, guys. I truly, truly appreciate it. I love making these videos for you guys and helping out the SEO industry in any way I can. Be sure to check out AEO.so if you want to learn more about answer engine optimization. And also check out, if you want to go to the localu.org conference, localu.org conference in Nashville, Tennessee, shoot me an email at dre@seo.video, dre@seo.video, because I have 3 tickets valued at $300 a piece to give away. So be sure to check it out, and I will see you guys next week. Peace out.
Thank you for watching. Hope you come back next week. Make sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss a thing. Hope you learn something new, because the vibe is incredible. From the special SEO professionals, SEO video show. Let's work. Want to see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre de Vera helping you step it up. No delay right now. Time to level up. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe.